Hello and a very warm welcome back to my YouTube channel. And today I want to talk about the real estate market in Bratislava, the capital of Slovakia, and give you 10 reasons why I think it could be a good place to put your money in the real estate market. I will also give disadvantages as well and my conclusion at the end. So let's get straight down to it. Number one, population growth, very important. Now, in 2010, the population of Bratislava was 414,000 people, but by 2020, this had grown to 435,000. But more importantly, by 2035, the population of Bratislava is expected to grow to 458,000 people. And this can only be good news for the real estate market. And the birth rate in Slovakia has actually been growing. So in 2013, it was 1.34 per couple. But by 2019, this had actually grown to 1.56 per couple. Very, very good in a European country. Number two, let's talk about GDP growth. So it's been good in recent years. So if we take the years 2015 to 2019, GDP growth ranged from 2.5% to 4.8%. Very, very healthy. And even in 2020, GDP only fell by around 4.8%. And considering it was a pandemic year, not too bad when compared to a lot of Western European countries, namely the UK, which fell by 9.9%. Number three, let's talk about unemployment, wages and inflation, which all have been improving. So if we look at 2013, very important, the unemployment rate was a whopping 14.2% in Slovakia. But by 2019, this had actually come right down to 5.75%. And although in 2020 and early parts of 2021, it had increased a lot to around between 6 to 7.3%, it's actually starting to come down again, fortunately. And also inflation is very, very low in Slovakia and has been for the last 9 years. It's actually been below 3% in the last 9 years. And wages have been growing very steadily too in Slovakia. And in Bratislava, particularly, where if you're a professional, you can earn well over €1,000 a month net. So that's pretty good. Number four, I want to talk about stability. So Slovakia is it's a very, very stable country politically. And consider this, it is a member of the European Union. It is a member of NATO, and it is in the euro as well. Number five, I want to talk about Bratislava's good geographical location. So it is located in central Europe, and it's actually only 79 kilometers away from Vienna, the capital of Austria. And this has aided the trading with both Eastern and Western Europe. So it's in a great, great location. And too, Slovakia has a good auto industry, good electronics industry, and good pharmaceutical industry as well. Number six, I want to talk about increasing tourism. So between 2009 and 2019, the tourist numbers in Bratislava more than doubled. Now, I know it suffered a lot during the pandemic, particularly 2020 was a disastrous year, but I do expect in the coming years, tourism to shoot right back up again in Bratislava. Number seven, there are few restrictions on foreign ownership when it comes to buying property. Now, the only restrictions for foreigners are agricultural land and forests. But other than that, there are no restrictions on foreign ownership, whether you're from the EU or outside the EU. Number eight, I want to talk about the very low buy-sell costs for older property, i.e. property more than 5 years old. So for property less than 5 years old, if it's been built and sold within, let's say, 5 years, you will have to include 20% VAT in the price. But for older properties, the buy-sell costs are very low. So if you're the buyer, you're looking at legal registration fees of less than 2%. And a seller, you're looking at real estate agent fees of between 3 to 6%. So you could actually be looking at buy-sell costs of around 5 to 6% perhaps on average. That's really, really, really low compared to most countries. Number nine, I want to talk about affordable prices. Now, the prices are pretty reasonable in Bratislava. So you are talking around €3,000 per square meter. But unfortunately, this prices have been rising a lot, in particular over the last year or so. They've risen by about 15 to 20%. and that's the case all over Slovakia. So prices, although are still reasonable, they are going up. And of course, you will have to pay a lot more for the old town, naturally. But you will do, I think, better in the Airbnb market in the old town. So if that's what you're looking to do, the old town, if you can afford it, is perhaps a good place to buy. But I would recommend actually Rusanov, which is in Bratislava too. And the prices here are a lot less than the old town. So you're looking about 30 to 35% less than the old town. That's a hell of a lot when you consider Rusanov really is almost right next to the old town. You could consider the new town Bratislava 3 as well, which of course the prices again are a lot less than the old town. But when you're looking at long-term rental yields, they're not particularly high. They're pretty much stable across the whole of Bratislava, which is actually quite a small capital. You're looking at about 4 to 4.5% growth, which is okay, but not amazing. Number 10, I want to talk about taxes. Now, the good thing about Slovakia, there's no inheritance tax, there are no local taxes, there's no wealth tax, and low property tax. And if we look at rental income tax from 0 to 37,981 spot 94 euros, you'll pay 19% rental income tax. Above that, you'll pay 25%. However, the deductions are pretty good. So deductions are allowed for expenses, repairs, real estate taxes, interest, finance costs, etc. They're pretty good. And you can alternatively, you can make a general claim of up to 40% instead of itemizing deductions. So the deductions will make sure, in effect, your rental income tax is a lot lower. Now, capital gains tax is the same rate, so it's 19% and 25%, and again it's 19% up until 37,991 spot 94 euros. Although you will have to include this in the year you sell. So if you're getting rental income tax in the year you sell, that will have to be included. So let's say if you get rental income tax, a higher rental income tax of 37,982 euros, for example, anything above that, you'll have to pay 25% capital gains tax because you will have used your allowance for the year. However, if for example, for 5 years you don't use your real estate property in Bratislava or Slovakia as a business asset, for 5 years, you'll pay no capital gains tax. So let's say if you don't rent it out for 5 years, you'll pay no capital gains tax. But please do double check that with a lawyer and accountant. That's the way I understand it. Now, as in any market, it's not perfect. There are disadvantages, and I'll just go through 3. My first one is that here you're not going to be buying at the bottom of the market. Unfortunately, prices have been going up quite a bit. Number 2, the yields, as I was saying, they're okay, but they're not spectacular. And the other thing is that in Slovakia, 90% of people own their own homes. So you may have difficulty, even in Bratislava, renting your property. And if we look at the European average, it's about 70% of people own their own homes. So in Slovakia, it's a lot higher. Also, number 3, I want to briefly talk about one of my favorite topics, total government debt to GDP. So in 2019, it was 48%, but it's actually in 2020, it had risen a lot to 60%, due obviously in the main to the pandemic. Now, I'm not saying this is high. It's a lot lower than a lot of Western European countries like the UK, Italy, Spain, France, etc. But when you compare it to other countries, which I've covered, like Bulgaria, Estonia, it is a lot higher than these 2 countries. Anyway, what's my conclusion? My conclusion is this. Although it wouldn't be my number 1 market, I'll confess that it wouldn't be my number 1 market. I think in the long term, you will do okay here. I think you'll do quite well, actually, if you invest over the next 10 to 15 years. So anyway, that's it for today. Let me know your thoughts. If you're from outside Europe, had you even heard of Bratislava? If you're from Europe, have you considered buying in Bratislava? I'd love to know your thoughts. Anyway, if you like this video, please do click the like button. It does actually help this video get a out to other people on YouTube. If you like my channel in general, please do subscribe, and I'll see you very soon on the next video. Thank you and goodbye for today.